taking up space in your head? Like, what are things that are regularly on your mind, or they don't even have to be regular?
Okay.
Brainstormy, stream of consciousnessy, and you write them out. What are things that are on your mind or on your heart?
Okay. See, this is interesting because I'm like in the middle of, I'm in the middle of the podcast. So, what's going on in my mind right now is like, keeping the conversation going. Oh, where I not top?
So interesting. Let's make a distinction here. We're not saying in the mind.
Okay.
We're saying on the mind. By that, we mean like there's something about it that's pulling on you, that's taking up a lot of space. So it's not any possible thing that's in the mind.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
Nice. Yeah, this is great. Keep going. And there's going to be times during this where like I'm going to intentionally just let there be silence. So
Okay.
just
Yeah,
that's normal and good.
So those who are listening, I'm basically just, maybe I can narrate this as I go. So I have a Google Doc and I'm just mind dumping here. I have to-do list, emails, calling plumber, responding to texts, catching up with dad tonight, need to go to the dump. Dog didn't poop this morning. So, that means I have to go check on him. All these little things.
Yeah, how about some things around what you mentioned at the beginning, like getting a rhythm around stuff like house management stuff.
Yeah. Dishes piled up. Need a new system. I'm saying need to go to bed at the same time every night. I've been trying to figure out my sleep. My sleep habits are just abysmal.
Nice.
I'm putting meal plan, prep / grocery shop.
Nice. And to just to open up the field here, we don't have to go in this direction live, but just both for the listener and for you to know that it's available. If there are particular emotions that are very potent or memories that have a charge, a strong emotional charge around it, or you tend to sense certain internal reactions around certain kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Clarity can be experienced around those things through the same kind of exercise that we'll be doing here. So if you don't have to write out in words if you don't want to, but you could like put letters that mean something to you and that we wouldn't understand or whatever. The point is, this act of making sense is not applicable only to projects.
Yeah.
It also applies to things in your life that you want to gain a deeper understanding of, or emotions in your life that you want to bring some space and light and peace and clarity to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think I think it'll be helpful for people to kind of know some of the things around that. So for me, when I see, think through this list, I have these thoughts of like perfectionism, like I want to do things the right way. It's kind of perfectionism versus just, I don't know, maybe honestly productivity in my mind, because perfectionism tends to be an enemy of productivity for me. And then like thoughts of like shame of like, why can't I do these things? Why can't I do them right? Why do I keep failing? Just all the sort of negative self-view things that,
Quick question. The shame, where do you feel that in your body when you feel it?
I think in my chest, in a sense of like a heaviness on my chest, like a weight, it feels heavy. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, like I'm carrying something like burdensome.
And when that's around, if 1 is low and 10 is high, where does it land?
Um, Low meaning like it's not that burdensome, and high meaning
Yeah,
okay. Probably a 7.
great, cool. And one last question on that,
Sure.
and these can be seeds for future things if you want them to be. When did you first feel that?
In my life?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Probably sometime in elementary school. My mom tells me that like she would find me just like trying to do my homework perfectly in cursive, like in the 3rd grade, because we were supposed to write in cursive. And so I was just, you know, taking an hour to do my homework when I'm in the 3rd grade. It's like, what are
Hmm.
you doing?
Yeah, give yourself some breathing room with this and pose the question to yourself of like, what are specific events or specific memories around this emotion? So it could be, for example, your mother sharing that.
Yeah.
It could work, but it's better if it's a specific event rather than like a theme or
Mm,
like a
yeah.
yeah.
Gosh. Let's see. It's I don't know if I can think of a specific event in my childhood. I can think of specific events where this manifested like later in life where I can have a memory of when I first started my job, and I was obviously trying to do my best, take on all these extra responsibilities. Can't say no to things, and for some reason
Hmm.
I've said yes to being like the class advisor for, I don't know if it was a sophomore class or whatever it was, which meant I had to do all these things for our spirit week. And so because I'm not good at delegating, I find myself like going to Walmart at like 9 o'clock at night to buy these decorations. And I just like have a moment where I like break down. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is so stressful and I don't enjoy this at all. And I can't get myself out of these responsibilities.
Good. So what you want to do is title these. So we have breakdown at Walmart during Spirit Week. Okay. And so that gives you a sense. So
Yeah.
there's a great thing to do with any specific, and you won't, it's common to not have the answer right away. So
Yeah.
you like
Yeah.
pose it to yourself. It's like, yeah, when are times when I felt this in an intense way, in a significant way? And you might not know right away, but if you let the mind kind of recalibrate and then start searching the files, it'll
Yeah.
find some things.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is a whole exercise that we could do that makes sense of these kind of stories. But at the very least, for the listener and for you on your own time, it's worthwhile simply collecting the names of these stories, just titling them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what like my mind wants to jump to is to say that seems like a waste of time. That seems very unrelated. But I think
Mhm.
there's something intuitive there about the fact that like these emotional memories are burdensome and they weigh on us somewhere. Again, I want to say the language of the back of our mind. I don't know how that jives with the anthropology thing that we're talking about, but you can almost imagine like you have all these files in your brain, and some of them are uh you know thicker than others, and way more on the memory.
Yeah, it's often like you ever have like a really messy desk and
Oh
then
yeah.
like it's only once you clean it you realize like how much that mess was affecting you.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
So the same is true with emotions. And so we're working under a couple premises here. One is we're not just like finding stories for any possible emotion we feel. we're
Right.
first starting with the question of, are there ones that we feel stuck around?
Yeah.
Okay. And now one of the definitions we'll use for overwhelm is we'll define overwhelm as the optional habit of ignoring clarity.
Wow.
Okay. And so when we are overwhelmed about something, we have two possible interpretations. We can interpret that as a sign that the answer is missing and we should freak out.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can interpret it as the answer is there, but we're missing the answer. And some part of us, through the sensation of overwhelm, is trying to get our attention so that we can give our attention to what has our attention.
Yeah.
So with emotions, we're working under a premise that those strong ones, or the ones that seem to have a history, or the ones that linger around or we feel a little bit stuck in, there's a story to be heard around those. And to the extent that we do not hear and listen to that story, it's going to continue to take up space.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so that could be episode 2 if we want it. Okay.
Yeah, right.
But the point is, we want to make clear that this is not just about to-do lists, but it totally involves to-do lists. So
Yeah.
first of all, is this a regular thing for you to do, like to do a brain dump like this?
Yes, when I'm like cleaning up my house, I'll find all of these pieces of paper or notebooks with my to-do lists, and you know, it's nice to go through and cross things off and be like, oh, I did end up doing that. But yeah, I this is something that is helpful for me. I mean, it doesn't ever include like anything emotional. It's just I have to do this, have to do that, have to remember to do this, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then
yeah.
where do you usually do that? Like,
Location wise, or
yeah, like where do you write this stuff out when you're just like,
oh
I gotta get this stuff off my
yeah,
head?
I mean, it could be the notes app of my phone, it could be in my planner, it could be just on a piece of notebook paper.
Yeah.
I don't have a single place where I do these brain dumps.
Nice. So here we start to assemble our goodie bag to all listeners. This is one very practical takeaway, which is, look, write down stuff wherever you want to, but you will thank yourself later if you have internal clarity of where you're doing this.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Cause like I said, I'll find a to-do list from 2 or 3 months ago,
Right. Right. Exactly. And that's very common. That's very common. And then what usually happens after you do that? So you grab the first thing that's in front of you, you toss stuff down on it, and then what happens?
Sometimes, I mean, yeah, after I write things down, sometimes it's like that sense of overwhelm comes up again. Cause it's like, like we were just saying, I have the clarity, I know what I need to do, but now beginning the tasks, beginning the list is very daunting because in a way, like until you put it all down on paper, you don't realize how daunting it is. But then once it's all out there in front of you, you're like, oh wait, this actually is a lot. And so, sometimes I might write the list and then just go do something that's not on the list at all. Other times other times I've used like a random number generator to like pick for me what
Yes, that's great.
which is nice because for me I get like decision paralysis.
Yeah.
So it's nice to like outsource the decision making.
I love that. Okay, so which thing on here that you wrote down is the most daunting?
Well,
and if there's something else that's clearly the most daunting thing and it's not on here, then get it on here.
Well, I think 2 things I could say is like, on the one hand, the sleep is just daunting because it's such a life altering task in terms of like like a simple task that I've been putting off. It's like the calling of the plumber because that's like scheduling gives me stress. And then the fact of how much is it going to cost gives me stress. And so I've been like existing in this limbo where I know there's this leak with my sink. Oh,
nice rhyme.
Yeah. Leak. I just pronounced my leak with my sink. It shouldn't. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like on paper, it's not really a dramatic task, but because it carries with it time and money, it's overwhelming.
It also sounds like part of it is um, not all things on paper are created equal.
For sure, for sure.
So let's play with those. So we have plumber, which I'm tossing up at the top here, and we have, where's the sleep one? Go to bed at the same time every night.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just for fun, what's the current state of call plumber? Like stress level? 1 is low, 10 is high.
I'd say around 5, because it's one of those things that can be very out of sight, out of mind,
Yeah.
And then when I get home, I'm like, oh crap.
What about need to go to bed at the same time every night?
That's probably more like a 7.
Cool. Okay, fun. So call plumber. What's the first thing for you to do to call the plumber?
First, I probably have to Google plumber to figure out which plumber I'm going to call. So I have to actually research and find the right company.
Are there people in your lives that could vouch for somebody such that you don't have to do that research?
Yeah, I could text my family group chat and say, "Hey, who has a recommendation for a plumber?"
Nice. Okay. And good. And then you need this plumber because what are you ultimately trying to do?
Fix the leak in my kitchen sink pipe.
Okay. So what do you feel around text family group chat on a number scale? 1 is low, 10 is high.
Like a 2.
Okay, cool. So what we're doing here, I'll explain after we do the same thing down here for need to go to bed at the same time.
Okay.
So if you went to bed the same time every night, would you be done?
No,
Why?
because well, a couple things. One is I would like to also get up around the same time every morning, roughly. 2, for me, there's the issue of, yeah, I can set a bedtime, but that has no relationship to when I will actually fall asleep. And so that
Mm-hmm.
requires, I don't know exactly what, but like building the habits such that my brain kind of picks up on this, on the sleep cues, and is like, okay, now we're tired.
Mm. So we'll phrase that as establish a rhythm for
Yeah.
falling asleep and waking up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have some known things that sabotage the like, hey, it's time to go to bed now?
Oh yeah. 100% my phone. It could be one of two things. Either I just get sucked in, or I will be feeling tired and know that I need to like go to bed, but I will feel so tired that I don't feel like doing my nighttime routine. And so then
Right.
my thought is, well, maybe if I just relax a little longer, I'll have the energy to do my bedtime routine.
Totally. Totally. Everyone listening, by the way, is like, I know exactly what
Yeah,
is
yeah,
being
yeah.
described.
That's like, I
Uh,
don't mind being honest. I think it'll help people because I think we're more similar than different.
exactly. Exactly. Okay. So a couple of things. Like one is what are you doing with your phone when you come back home? Where is it?
So when I come home from work, I'm alternating between the kitchen or the living room. I'm either like cooking, making dinner, in which case my phone, I'm often listening to a podcast, or when it's later in the evening and I move to the living room, I'll probably be sitting on the couch, phone plugged into a charger in the wall, and I'm, just probably on social media or reading articles or watching YouTube or stuff like that.
Okay, so that transition into the living room in the evening. Before then, there is you would say there's a productive use of the phone, right? Because of the
Yeah.
listening to podcasts.
Yeah, and I think that helps me, when I'm doing something like dishes or cooking. It's something that kind of keeps me, I guess, entertained as I'm doing a more somewhat mindless task.
Okay. Now, afterwards, whatever later in the evening in the living room means to you,
Mhm.
is there any productive use of the phone at that point?
Very little. I mean, yeah, I might be catching up on a couple texts that people have sent me. Um, but for the most part, it's just downtime and um, yeah, entertainment.
What's something that you would love to do? Like if you weren't in the quicksand of the phone,
Yeah.
you know that like it would light you up to have done that in the evening instead. And but it just doesn't cross your mind because you're in the living room and then before you know it, you're like on the phone and whatnot. But what are some things in the evening that you would like to do instead?
I would love to dedicate time for reading and research and script writing for future YouTube videos. Um, dedicating time to like those like creative side projects. Um, yeah.
Do those activities require the internet?
Um, not not for the most part, maybe in the sense that if I were, pulling up some articles I was going to read, but that's also something where if you pulled them up later in the day and then you don't need internet access to read them, um, not necessarily. So I'd say like definitely not intrinsically.
Hmm. And even the like the reading side of thing. Oh, okay. We can leave it at that for now.
Okay.
Um, the catching up on texts is there because you want to maintain a level of communication with your friends, right?
Right. Friends, family, um, other people who I happen to have, sent a message to. So there's times in which it could be a little bit more work related. Um, yeah.
Are there ever evening times where it's work related?
Sometimes in the sense that like maybe I send a text to a student, like also like for example last night, like I had texted a student earlier in the day asking them something and then they didn't respond till like 8:30 at night. So now I have this message on my phone that is semi work related, it's not like
Hmm. That's
press.
right, because campus ministry. Okay.
Right.
Now, with that situation, though, would anything like terrible happen if instead of replying that evening, you replied in the morning the next day?
No.
Okay, cool. Notice, by the way, for the people who are with us at this point, like if we were just doing this riffing off the top of our heads, like we would not have the scaffolding to be able to like branch down and go down and
Right. Right.
right, like because we can see these thoughts and not just have them in the head, like we can now switch from thinking of the stuff to thinking about it.
Hmm.
And this facilitates a conversation. um okay, could when would be a great time in the morning for you to catch up on texts?
Um, I mean, it would be, after I've gotten up, gotten ready for the day, had breakfast, maybe even driven to the office. So I would say
Mm,
sometime around 10 a.m.
cool. Okay. What we're doing here is we're not fully explaining everything because that would be crazy to do. Um, for this one, there's elements of habit formation and how you manage habits. What we're
Right.
looking for here is like, can we find a linchpin or a lever point where if we adjust that, other things will just fall into place. And so part
Yeah.
of what's happening related to the falling asleep is this use of the phone. And so we're trying to get in and say, well, what is the pattern? Is there a natural trigger or line where we could say, okay, we can use a phone up to this point, but then not, and establish some kind of context
Yeah.
for you to have these decisions around? Because right now there's not a line in the sand. So what do you feel about no strict phone rules up until this transition? And I guess that would be like after dinner or
Yeah.
after you're done with dishes, theoretically, or something.
Right. Yeah.
And then the rule would be once you hit that pivot point where now you're switching to later in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
the phone is out of your hands. You do not touch it.
uh, I think sounds great in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like sounds like a great idea. The issue that always comes up for me is follow through, or
Totally.
oh, I'm just gonna check it. Oh, it's gonna be 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I get it. I get it. So a couple things. And part of this is like, so what we're to like translate it to everyday Catholic speak or something. If someone, this is not confession, obviously, but just to use a confessional analogy, like if someone came and was like, just, I'm doing X, and like every time they come back, they're like, I'm doing X. The confessor should catch on and be like, okay, wait, but like, why is that happening?
Yeah, yeah,
And what are you going to do to make it easier to avoid that situation? So there was one time we were running a workshop with some moms, and the mom came up to me afterwards and was like, I had a related experience where I'd gone to confession and I was talking about I was getting so angry at my kids. And the priest said, well, maybe you're not an angry mom. Maybe if you left 15 minutes earlier for mass, things wouldn't be rushed and you wouldn't put yourself in those situations where there's that temptation. So there's kind of a related thing here in the sense of it's one, exactly what you're sensing. It's one thing to like have an intention, but like now we need to have like a particular act. Like, how does this get tangible and specific so that we're shaping the physical environment to support that internal intention that we want? So
right.
one thing that's fairly common is people, what's your alarm clock?
My phone.
Exactly. So this just became very easy, which is we're going to come back to this, but you have an easy next step of buying a physical alarm clock.
Yeah.
Okay. It's game over if the last thing we touch before going to bed and the first thing we touch upon waking up is the
Right.
most distracting
Right.
inducing tool ever invented.
For sure.
Okay. For sure. Right. So here's an idea, which is when you get to this evening time, not because you don't want to get sucked into the phone, because that's not a powerful enough motivator, but because you want to exercise your creativity in writing and reading. What if once you got to this pivot point in the evening, you turned off your phone and put it in your car?
Wow, that would be a game changer. I feel anxiety as soon as you say that. I'm like, but, what if somebody needs to, I like, it's like a thrilling anxiety and it's,
and this is why we need to listen to all the buts.
yeah,
Like we,
yeah,
and sometimes we can go too quickly into like, we have free will. will this thing, right?
Exactly. Like, well, why can't I just say no? Like, well, because I've been trying to say no for 10 years.
The same reason, yeah, the same reason why you can't just be sorry for something, but you have to make a particular resolution about it.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, so this is it. So any of the red flags that come up, we want to pay attention to. So what if somebody needs me? Well, we're saying that as our trigger is as soon as we get into the office, our phone is on and we can check all the texts.
Right.
And you could check text before you leave too, whatever, fine.
Right. Yeah. It's just
So
not the first thing I wake up or else I'll get sucked back in.
Exactly. So from a communication standpoint, no problems are going to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not really anybody's emergency contact. I obviously, like, if I in the future, like if I was married with kids, like maybe that wouldn't work. But I think for me, very, very, very unlikely that there would be an emergency situation that I would be, the person.
And this brings up a point of like these kinds of rhythms that we create, we're not chiseling them into marble. They will naturally evolve and change over time. So it's helpful to just to approach it from, well, for this season of life, what would be helpful? And then you don't feel like you're locking yourself into something forever.
For sure.
Yeah. So another point of concern would be the alarm, right? But like, I need my alarm. Okay. Now, if we bought a $10 alarm clock from Walmart or Target or whatever, that handles the alarm part of the equation too. Is that correct?
Yes, except for the fact that I tried this a couple of years ago and the alarm that I bought, it ended up like not counting time properly. And so it didn't work. I might need to get a little more of a little more than like a $10 clock from Walmart because I got gypped by the one that I have.
And would that be worth it for you?
I think so in the long run. Yeah. I mean, it's not, I don't blink an eye throwing $40 towards a lot of things, but the clock, it's not a very enticing purchase, but
you're not throwing $40 for the clock though. You're throwing $40 to you getting back in touch with your creativity.
Yeah, I know. I love that we're looking at it that way.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just lay this out and fight back, push back if anything I'm doing seems artificial or not realistic or anything like that.
Okay. I mean, I think for me, I like what comes up is, well, I do use social media to some extent for like the podcast, for example. And so maybe I want to be engaging with people on the platform on Instagram or whatnot. And so I guess I would have to set up other time to do my social media stuff for the podcast or I mean, even my own personal, social media, which is, it's not like I have a pressing need for it, but it is something that's fun for me. And, I do like, there's times when social media is enjoyable. And then there's times when it's clearly just me like avoiding whatever else I need to do.
Yeah, totally. I get it. And it sounds like listening to you that, okay, we don't even have to, we can grant the premise of solid engagement on social media platforms. Okay. It sounds like what we can't grant or what we shouldn't is engagement in the evening, simply because you're recognizing that this is something that doesn't like calm the mind down to start transitioning to sleep.
Right.
So, okay, cool. We can bring this to a head. We'll take this guy. Oop. Okay, So we're going to simplify things, but for the point of the conversation, what are we doing here? All the questions I was asking you, and the questions I would ask you if we went into breakdown at Walmart during Spirit Week. Okay. They're not arbitrary questions. They are fixed in number and they do not change. And they are based off of human nature. So the advantage of this is when you learn how to use these questions to get us from a state of unclarity or overwhelm to a state of clarity and peace is not a new process every time. It's the same process every time, which means that it can become a habit, which means it can become easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the details and stuff doesn't make sense to introduce here, but just for the listener to understand, this is part of the reason why we call this an art. There's a fixed set of prompts and questions. Okay. What happened? What we focused on in this example is 2 questions that are centered around activity. And you can think of these as like the ones and zeros of managing your to-do list. And those 2 questions are, if I did this, would I be done? And what's the next thing for me to do? So the typical problem is most people have, instead of having text family group chat on your to-do list, you have plumber.
Yeah.
Usually it's like plumber. It's not even calling plumber. It's just plumber. Right. Okay. And then instead of alarm clock on your errands list, you have like figure out everything about my sleep cycle.
Right.
Okay. So part yeah, part of it is boiling things down to the next easy step, but then also you can't really see it here, but it plays out in the managing of these things over weeks. It's very handy to have a clear end goal, and the clear end goal is put somewhere different than your to-do list, so that when you get to your to-do list, you're not getting uppercut by like solve world hunger. You're just seeing these predefined, easy to execute things, and that's a lot more inviting for the mind to go to. So really, you don't have plumber. You really have text family group chat.
Right.
And you don't have need to go to bed at the same time every night. You have buy a physical alarm clock.
Right.
Okay. And we get from the red to the green by letting our fingers type keys, our mouths speak, our eyes to see this stuff. And that allows us to make sense of these things so that we're not coming in. And if we're writing to-do lists, we're not coming in and really just like getting hit by this blob of pending decisions
Right.
that part of us knows we haven't made and part of us doesn't know we haven't made.
Right. Yeah. I think so many people, and even just in a broader sense, like we can picture our ideal self and all the habits that we as an ideal person have. You know, you're like, oh, I'm somebody who goes to gym 3 times a week, and I'm somebody who sees friends once a week, and I'm somebody who does this and that and prays 30 minutes a day. And like we can envision that perfect ordered life. But like you said, that's like the end. That's like the how did you term it? With like what's in the red.
Well, that usually we call that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, but like whatever, like the end goal, the end result, we see that, and then we just see ourselves like smack up against it over and over again because there's no breakdown of like the simple step 1, how to get there.
Here's where we get to why personalized coaching is important, because not everyone actually feels that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll see. It depends on temperament and a whole few of things. But for this whole bucket of people that feel like that, there's a whole nother bucket of people that have the exact opposite problem. They are, yeah. So you were saying you see the big thing so clearly and it's really loud and scary to you.
Right.
Other people don't see the big thing at all. And they're just doing they have a habit of just seeing the one tiny specific thing. And they do that, but because they have a blind spot towards where they're ultimately trying to go to, they get into this reactive stance. So they're kind of always reacting to things. So this is where you have 4 behaviors that everyone uses, but they're going to use them in different ways. And when you have someone other than yourself seeing what's going on from like the third point of view or whatever, that you can give the guidance of, hey, this tends to be where you feel weaker, and this tends to be where you feel stronger. So start leaning in this direction, or that person needs to lean in another direction.
Wow, that's fascinating. Wow. So is this the kind of thing that you do like on a day-to-day basis? Like you're working with clients and you say, okay, brain dump, kind of what's on your mind, what's on your plate, and then you coach them through like asking them these probing questions and trying to get to this point.
Yes, exactly. And it's like training. It's like teaching someone how to ride a bike. Like at first I asked a lot of questions during this session. If we were to be working with each other, as we did more sessions with each other, I ask less and less, and I leave more and more space for you to ask yourself these questions, so that at the end, the goal is so that you're autonomous. It's not like you perpetually need a coach.
Right.
But you need that at the beginning. And yeah, this is exactly the kind of stuff that we do. You get down into the weeds. That's where the behavior change happens. And yeah, we have conversations like, well, what are the tools that you're using, and coming up with a plan of, okay, I have 20 tools, but maybe I actually need 7 of them, and like getting clear on when I want to write something down, getting clear on where I'm going to write that stuff down, or where I store that stuff, so that I can come back to it later and clean it up. And yeah, but yeah, this is a great snapshot of the kind of stuff.
Right. No, that's awesome. So then just kind of wrap this up. So people got to witness like a hands-on experience of what you do. So to kind of tie it together, like how would you, I think what the normal or what you were saying, like secular productivity coaches, this is like kind of the thing that they would do. This is probably something along the lines of, the kind of things they suggest. So how is what you just did different? Like, how does it tie back to that anthropology piece that we were talking about?
Good. What's typical is a couple things. One is many conversations would begin with a particular tool.
Yeah.
Install this app. There's more common in organizations, but the conversation begins at the level of the external tool rather than the internal behavior. So we just did Google Docs because it was easy to share the screen, and we thought, okay, it'd be kind of fun if people want to see it. But you could have done this with a pencil and a piece of paper. You could have done it in a digital program, online, whatever. So the focus is coming from a place of, you have the innate ability to recognize clarity and to recognize dissonance. And the productivity is first an internal game. It's recognizing that you have these innate abilities and then practicing them so that they get stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's one thing, is that I don't care what tool we jump to, we go to whatever one you want.
Right.
The other thing is, if we were to continue this, we're not restricting this conversation to a particular subset of things. We're not restricting it, for example, to your professional life. we're letting the conversation engage in both the professional and personal. So there's a continuation, a widening in the scope in that direction, but then also in the other direction. In particular, if we're talking about productivity,
Right.
there's not going to be a conversation about your breakdown in Walmart during Spirit Week. Okay. Because that seems like we're not restricting the conversation to tasks. We're broadening the conversation to dissonance and resonance. Anything that is creating significant dissonance has the potential of coming into a state of resonance and clarity. And so that's another difference, is that we're widening the scope. The conversation includes managing your time, to-dos, knowledge, and emotions. And so this is a much wider spectrum than it's normally done. And then the other is that it's a fixed set of behaviors. So you're going into and learning the core essentials, almost like the simple machines of clarity. Think of like what the lever and the screw and the wheel are, but
Yeah.
for making sense in your mind. And then that's really empowering, because if you know the core things to do and you practice them so that they become habits in your life, then you're golden at that point. Like you can change careers and still implement the same thing. You
Yeah.
could, yeah. So anyway, so that's the longer or shorter answer, I don't know, to that very good question.
Yeah. No, this is really fascinating. I think a few years ago I would have kind of brushed this stuff off almost as in that Gnostic way of like, oh, it's not spiritual, so it doesn't really, it's almost superfluous, you know?
Mhm.
And the older I get, the more I'm like, and the more I realize these imbalances in my life where a lot of this habit formation just has not progressed. I see more and more the value of this kind of thing. And so I'm really glad that you're doing it. And I think it's also good that it's somebody in the Catholic space, because, you know, as you were describing that experience working at uh Institute of Catholic Culture, I was just like, this is almost every Catholic organization or school or institution where it's like overworked. You have to say yes to everything. You know, it's for the mission, and people
Mm.
are really burnt out because it's, you know, they have, it's kind of like what we were saying, how, you know, some people, not everybody's like me, they might just do they don't see the big picture. I think in these religious groups, we do see the big picture. And then that can almost get in the way, not quite get in the way, but it stunts our ability to execute things like in the day-to-day here and now.
Yeah. And I think spiritually that comes down to, is there clarity in the person that they have a divine call to arms to get down into the trenches? Or are they viewing replying to this email as an annoying thing that they have to do, rather than like that's where they're meeting God?
Yeah, I know 100%, because I think we look at those tasks as like, well, I'm going to get this out of the way so then I can get to the real stuff or the good
Right.
stuff. Um,
Right.
and you know, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to not eat the meal because I want to get to the dessert. And uh,
hmm
that's just not, really how success in any arena comes.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Wow. Well, this has been a really fascinating conversation. I'm definitely excited to share this. And um, if you want to just plug your book and your website again so that people can find you.
Yeah, totally. So I tend to hang out primarily in email. I think it's a less distracting environment than
Okay.
social media, but I flirt around in social media every once in a while. Best
Okay.
place to get in touch and the best place to learn this is our website, artofworkflow.com. And what I would recommend starting with is you will see the entire table of contents laid out on that homepage. And you put your email address in there and you'll start receiving that story essentially chapter by chapter. The reason why we do this via email is because how many times have we read a good book and written something in the margin of like, oh, did they mean this or that? Or if only I could speak to the author. It's a conversational medium so that you recognize, or that so that's facilitated a conversation. So there's a real human behind it. When you get an email, if you have a question about a particular concept, totally just hit reply, and we'll answer that question for you. But yeah, so in that story, we go into the nuts and bolts, real detail into each of these 4 behaviors, how to implement them in your life. And this is the easier solution to getting organized. It's a more sustainable solution to being creative. And yeah, you can read all of that for free, artofworkflow.com.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What's a fun creative thing that's coming down the line?
Well, so right now I'm in the stage of like recording new podcasts. I just released the last episode of my 2nd season, and so now I get to do this, which is the fun part of podcasting. Yeah. You know, the work part comes later, where it's, you know, going through the edits and making I mean, it's not so tedious. I enjoy making the graphics and stuff like that, but
yeah,
I'm kind of in the height of the creative piece right now.
it's fun.
So yeah. Oh, this battery's about to die. So okay. I have really enjoyed this conversation. And I think there's a lot to unpack here. So thank you again so much for being so generous with your time and you know, taking me on almost as a sample client. So
yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate what you're doing.
awesome. All right. Good luck to you.
All right. Peace.
Bye.